This is the Morning Tailgate.
I'll just tell the Raider Nation that we have to earn your trust. We got to earn those seats in the stands by putting a great product on the field. Words will not do it. It's our actions.
With Vin Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, and Clay Baker on Raider Nation Radio 920.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Tailgate here on Raider Nation Radio 920. Oh, what a day we got here for you. I'm Clay Baker, here with Vinny Bonsignor, Connor Collins, here in the Lotus Broadcasting Studios. Thanks for joining us here today. We got so much to get into, and we want to definitely get your calls up at 702-365-9200, 702-365-9200. And you can hear Raider Nation Radio in lots of ways. You can keep in touch with us on Instagram at RNR 920 AM and Raider Nation Radio 920 AM on YouTube. And of course, as always, you can listen to us up on the Raiders app and at LV Sports Network on the app or online at lvsportsnetwork.com. As we are live here at Lotus Broadcasting, Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, Connor Collins. And Vinny, what a night it was last night for Fernando Mendoza in the white tuxedo, live in front of millions for the ESPY Awards.
Yeah, a wonderful night for Fernando Mendoza, and no surprise whatsoever that he wins the ESPY Award for the College Athlete of the Year. I always love the ESPYs, and from the awards to the tributes. There's always a little bit of a tearjerker. There's always a lot of inspiration, a lot of great speeches, and Fernando was certainly front and center. And we're going to definitely be talking about Mr. Mendoza and what the future might hold for him as well, taking a little bit of a look at his past last night. Obviously, what a triumphant story, Clay, when you think about Fernando Mendoza and college sports has always there's so many different storylines, there's so many different layers to college sports, but now more than ever with the transfer portal, I'd venture to say that not a lot of people were well aware of Fernando Mendoza after his first couple of years at Cal. It was a good program, not a great program. They had moved from the Pac-12 to the ACC, so they were kind of in not no man's land, but it was like Cal in the ACC. It was just kind of weird, a weird time that he was there. And so not a lot of fans, I don't think, outside of maybe West Coast fans, outside of Pac-12 fans and ACC fans, really knew who Fernando Mendoza was. It's been fun to retroactively talk to NFL people about their first kind of memories of Fernando Mendoza and what they thought of him, and they're like, no, we knew he was a good quarterback at Cal. That was pretty obvious. But for him to kind of go from where he was at Cal to all of a sudden Indiana, which in its own right was a miraculous story. Nobody ever, Indiana was historically, and I think this is historically accurate, the worst college football program in the country for years, right?
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, they were as bad as it gets. Then they kind of break through that year in 2024, make the playoffs. Notre Dame trounces them. By the way, Notre Dame's the last team to beat Indiana. I just want to put that out there. But they had a really good team, and they said, hey, we got to go find a good quarterback to get us over the top. And they bring in Fernando Mendoza in the transfer portal, and the rest is kind of history. And this is a guy that ends up leading his team to an undefeated season. He wins the Heisman Trophy winner. He wins the Heisman Trophy, and he obviously leads Indiana to the national championship. Just a miraculous story, a miraculous year. Now he's the number one pick, in the NFL of the Raiders. He was just, I think he's on the Topps cards. He's the cover boy for the Topps football cards this year. Everything is kind of coming to him. Now we'll see if he wins the starting job. But it was a great night to look back for Fernando, and as he said, go Raiders. years. Obviously, looking ahead to now his NFL career and his NFL journey, which I think Clay has a chance to be every bit as electric, every bit as memorable, every bit as impactful as his college career. I have real high hopes and high expectations for Fernando Mendoza, and really starting this year, provided he gets on the field, which I believe at some point, whether it's to start the season or at some point during the season, he's going to get on the field and play extensive football.
Hey, when you get the ESPY Award for Best College Athlete, they take into consideration how great your year was, but this was a culmination of good play from Cal through Indiana. And now when you think of what a Heisman Trophy and a number one pick in the draft can mean, everything has lined up even better than what you would expect because, hey, you're dealing with greatness. Greatness has been thrust upon you. Not everyone is geared for that. Not everyone is geared to continue on once they make it to the next level to stack even further more greatness and great attitude, great work ethic, being a team player. All these other things that Fernando, you're hoping for out of a great athlete, he's checked those boxes. He's been doing that ever since he graduated from Indiana when he left Indiana, and when the season ended, he had something where he immediately started working very hard for the next level, taking practice snaps and working with Brian Greasy, somebody that felt like, all right, if there was a knock on me not taking enough snaps under center, well, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to do 1,000 of those a day. Whatever it was, it's like ever since he came to the Raiders and has come to camp, he has been a great professional and somebody who knows I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. He keeps saying that. I'm working with the threes. I'm going to try to keep going better and better and stack good days and constantly improve. And that kind of continuous improvement is something you don't normally see from a young athlete that has had greatness, not only earned but thrust upon him. So seeing it now in real time lets you further know that something good could be cooking here, and we might be able to see the fruits of that labor very soon.
Yeah, and I think he's cut from the same cloth as all the other great ones, and that's a beautiful thing to see. When you think about, by the way, we have a really good show today on the Morning Tailgate. Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Raiders, joins us at 8 a.m., and Case Keefer, the great writer from the Las Vegas Sun, joins us at 9 a.m. I was thinking about this. When it comes to top picks and quarterbacks who are first picks overall or really high draft picks, I think we're kind of getting away from the massive bust, right? I mean, who was the last guy that we could say, just a terrible bust? Even the ones that look like busts, like a Sam Darnold or, if you want to say a Baker Mayfield, even though I never really bought into him being a bust with the Cleveland Browns, I think they prematurely got rid of him or moved on from him. We're starting to see a much more. This is why somebody had brought up, I think it was on Twitter, hey, Tom Brady says that young quarterbacks have to sit. It was the best thing for him back in his day. And back in his day, Clay, was far different than it is now. What I see from college athletes, let's talk about just college quarterbacks coming into the NFL now, way more savvy than they used to be. These guys have been taught by personal coaches. Mm-hmm. It's like a 365-day a year, going all the way back almost for a lot of these guys to middle school, Clay. They have been exposed to so much more than and not, obviously Tom Brady's the GOAT, and he worked his what off to become the GOAT. But even in Tom Brady's time, when he was in high school, when he was in middle school, I would venture to say is far different from what kids are experiencing now. You could call it overly excessive. You could call it, too much, too soon, whatever it is that you want to call it. The point is that these days, college kids that make the jump to the pros, even from I saw that, I was telling you about that at the NBA Summer League, just more mature bodies, just more mature demeanors, guys that just look more pro ready right now than they have ever looked. A lot of these kids are staying in college longer in college basketball. When you're talking about college football and you're talking about or just NFL, young NFL quarterbacks, you got to understand that these are kids that have been built to be quarterbacks for the longest time and are getting a high level of coaching, a high level of training, a year-round level of training. They're going to passing academies. They're going to, every weekend there's events, there's 7-on-7s. And I'm talking about high leverage, high level, competitions where they're playing other kids that are the top of the line from their age group. So they're just exposed to so much more, and I think more ready. From a mental standpoint, to get on the field earlier. And so, I guess what I'm saying is, all these scare stories about first round busts and guys that have busts. I'm starting to see that less and less. Am I missing something here?
Oh no, definitely. I mean, think about, but we could go back to even Baker Mayfield, 2018 number 1 pick, followed by Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. All right, if it didn't happen right away, the maturity eventually caught up, and they got on better teams or were linked with better coaches. Either way, they're very viable products now, and sometimes now the elite in the league. And sometimes I've always felt that like Tom Brady's story was an inspiration for a lot of kids everywhere, feeling like, look at what the hard work can do. Look at what the separate focus of just trying to get better each and every day can do for you. And now when you see how other people have taken it to another point where, like, even in middle school, they're working with a personal trainer to close that gap even further on a athletic level, on a more physical and body style level.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I don't think that for a lot of these guys it needs to be taught. Like, it's already like Fernando needs to sit and watch Kirk Cousins on how to be a pro. Fernando Mendoza, I mean, think about what he did in college and the adjustment that he made, the transition he made going from Cal to Indiana, with enormous expectations. And we've talked about this and how it started off a little bit slow because he's learning a new offense, he's learning a new group of players, he's living in a new city, he's going to a different school. There's a lot that was thrown at him, and he survived. Like, it's not. Yes, there's some absolutely no question about it merit to watching how a pro's pro in Kirk Cousins goes about his business and takes care. But when I look at Fernando Mendoza, and when I saw him at his pro day and how he conducted himself at his pro day, I don't think that that's like this thing that he has to learn. I think he already knows it, and it's going to be great for him to be able to use a Kirk Cousins as a sounding board and for advice and all that type of stuff, which I don't discount whatsoever. But I sometimes feel like people think, oh, he's starting from way down here and has to learn and watch and observe every step that Kirk Cousins make. I'm going to tell you this: Kirk Cousins is going to learn from Fernando Mendoza just as much as Fernando's going to learn from Kirk Cousins. That's how he's wired. But before we get to all that, because we have I think a great question today, off of Fernando's great night last night, winning the ESPY Award for the College Athlete of the Year, we're going to really quick listen to his speech, which I thought was really cool. Let's listen to Fernando, and then after that, we're going to ask a big question, and we want your thoughts and your help at 702-365-9200 on the Morning Tailgate. Here's Fernando from accepting at his ESPY Awards and accepting the award for the College Athlete of the Year.
It goes to Fernando Mendoza.
Thank you, everybody. It's such a blessing to be here. First off, I want to give all the glory to God. Football. Thank you. Football is the ultimate team sport, and although this award has one name on it, it belongs to so many people. I want to give a huge thanks to my family, my coaches, my beloved Hoosier Nation, and most importantly, out of all of them, my beloved teammates. Love you guys. Appreciate everything you guys done for me. I also want to give a big congratulations to all the other nominees and all the amazing athletes being honored here tonight. God bless. Go Raiders. Thank you, guys.
That's Fernando Mendoza accepting his College Athlete of the Year award last night at the ESPYs, and he's already, definitely winning some points with Raider Nation. Go Raiders! At the end of that, but I got to imagine, Clay, and I want everyone's thoughts out there. 702-365-9200. I know that Fernando hasn't played a snap yet for the Raiders, but he's already representing the Raiders with a lot of class and a lot of dignity, and obviously a lot of excitement. And I am curious from Raider Nation what they think of their soon-to-be new leader. And make no mistake, Fernando Mendoza is going to be the leader of this football team, and that's going to be something that's going to happen over years. He's going to be the face of this franchise. He's going to be the leader of this franchise. He's going to be, when it all gets turned around, he's going to be front and center in all of that. And what are your first impressions, I guess, of Fernando Mendoza, and how much pride do you already kind of have in terms of him being, oh man, that's our guy, that's Fernando, that's the new quarterback, the new face of the Raiders franchise? I got to imagine that there's a lot of pride in that and a lot of excitement for what the future holds. Give us your thoughts, 702-365-9200. But on top of all that, it got us thinking as we saw last night unfold and all the awards. And this is, the ESPYs have become kind of a summer tradition now, but it sets up beautifully for, what's to come this year in the NFL. And there's, it's way too early. Training camp hasn't even started. But I called up all the odds favorites for all the awards, and they're all listed out there. If that's something that you like to do, it would be very easy to go look it all up. And if you want to, drop a little something on somebody here or somebody there, you're free to do that. That's available to you. But we are asking the question today. I know it's way too early, but that's the fun part of it, to kind of stick our neck out there a little bit. What are your predictions for the NFL awards this year? Before training camp even starts, before we even see one pass thrown, one ball handed off, one sack, one interception, one fumble, one football game, let alone anyone actually step on the field for practice, do you have a feeling? Do you have a gut feeling, an instinct on who's going to win the awards this year? And the awards that we're talking about are MVP, Offensive Player of the Year award, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Offensive or Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then also the Coach of the Year. And it's interesting, Clay, because when you think about, let's just go MVP, there aren't really many Raiders that are involved in that discussion right now. In fact, right now, Josh Allen is the odds favorite, I guess, plus 550. You can explain what that all means, but they are involved in some of the other awards. Offensive Player of the Year award, Jamar Gibbs from the Detroit Lions,
Jahmyr Gibbs,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Jamar Gibbs. There's a couple of Jamars out there. Plus 750 as a favorite for that award. Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett from the Rams, plus 450. But Max Crosby, the great Raider, plus 1,400. We said MVP award, Josh Allen is the favorite right now. Offensive Rookie of the Year, this is where it gets interesting for the Raiders. Jeremiah Love is the Arizona Cardinals running back, plus 375. But Fernando's right behind him at plus 400. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year, Reuben Bain and David Bailey are both listed at plus 500. But there's a couple of Raiders. They're a little bit further down the list, but they're getting a little bit of love. Jermod McCoy and Traydon Stukes, both the young secondary players, are both listed at 650. So plus 650. So we're asking our listeners, our callers, our texters, who are your favorites, to win those awards. 702-365-9200. And I'll start right here, Clay. Obviously, Fernando's getting a lot of love. He's ranked second, if you want to go by odds, to win the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year award. And that means that there's some people out there that actually think that he's going to get on the field and play a significant amount of time to maybe put himself in the running. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's there. I mean, there's global odds on how many yards passing and touchdowns thrown will Fernando Mendoza have in the upcoming season, and that's at 2,750 passing yards, and I think it's 14 touchdowns and 12 interceptions right now. That's what you can bet on. 14.5 and 12.5. But the passing yards just tell you that indicate they feel very strongly that he is going to play and have significant time. 2,750 yards completed. That's good. That shows you what
do you think? How many games would that be? That doesn't scream 17 games. What are you thinking that 8?
Yeah, that was my first encapsulation. Like somewhere between 8 and 9, maybe 8 and 10.
Okay.
But that shows you half to a majority of the season. That in comparison to what Cousins might do. So Cousins isn't on a list on the global odds for passing yardage. Fernando is. So that just lets me further know of maybe what some of the the global experts, or at least some of the odds makers, feel that what can be accomplished in this first year.
Yeah, and I think I'm on record. I am pounding the table. I am kicking and screaming and throwing things and being irrational on this. But I think it's imperative. 8 games. I would like it to be more, but I would settle for 8 games. I just think that for the future of the Raiders, for the future of Fernando Mendoza, it's way more important to get Fernando Mendoza on the field for a significant amount of time. And I think 8 games would represents significant. That's a good chunk of games. It's more than not quite more than right around half the games. Let's put it that way. The 17 games, 8. So playing 8 of 17 games, I think, would be a good first year for him in terms of the experience. But Clay, I think it's imperative, and I'm not going to back off. I'm not going to stop saying that. I think that it would be a waste. To be quite honest, a waste of Fernando's first season, a waste of the development of this big-time asset of the Raiders. I think it would be a waste for him not to get on the field for that amount of games, if not more. But we want your thoughts, 702-365-9200, on what you think about the awards. Do you think Fernando has a shot to win Offensive Rookie of the Year award? Do you think that who do you think, where does Max Crosby fit in all that? Before we get into all that, though, just want to remind everybody that since 1942, Sal's Mexican restaurants have been serving the best Mexican food in California Central Valley. From their award-winning salsas to all their classics like chili carne and chili verde, they've been go-to restaurants for multiple generations. Here's the thing, you don't even have to be in California to enjoy this tremendous food. Just go to salsmexicanrestaurant.com. That's salsmexicanrestaurant.com to get hooked up. You go online, you put your order in, whatever it is that you order, wherever you are, it'll get delivered to you, and your next party, your next family get-together, or your next tailgate is set up. If you do live in the Central Valley, maybe you're passing through, make sure to stop by their locations in Selma, Fresno, or Madera. When you do, ask for Sal, Carl, or any of their managers, and let them know that the Morning Tailgate and Raider Nation Radio sent you. Or again, just go to salsmexicanrestaurant.com.
Vince, Vinny, and Clay want to hear from you. Call or text the show at 702-365-9200. Now, back to the Morning Tailgate.
Man, they're awesome. They're crazy. I didn't understand, the Raiders, mantra and culture, being from, growing up in the East Coast in Miami. And I got to then understand a portion of it when I was at Berkeley, because Berkeley's right next to Oakland, and a lot of my teammates in Berkeley were, diehard Raiders fans, and just being around Oakland, getting to experience the Raiders, I'm like, okay, these guys are crazy. And then now being in Las Vegas and, interacting with a lot more Raiders fans, being a part of the Raiders organization, it's been such a blessing. And whether people, whatever they have to say about the Raiders organization, I know whenever I go to a fight every single Sunday, I know I want the people who are going to ride and die. And those are what the Raiders fans and Raiders culture has portrayed to me so far. So I'm hyped and I'm blessed to be a part of it. And it's given me that much motivation to do everything possible I can to then best serve, like I said, my teammates, coaches, and the culture and the fans. It's just given me a whole nother level that I want to get to.
That's Fernando Mendoza, and by the way, that's somebody who gets it, who understands the assignment, and that's a further reason for me that he's an advanced prospect that's coming into the NFL and to the Raiders, somebody that played, was it 39 games, 39 games in his college career, including 16 starts last year. 16-0. Clay, think about how hard that is to do in college football. And it's not like, he was playing in a lower division. This is a Big Ten schedule. The playoffs it was a gauntlet in the playoffs, starting with the Ohio State game in the Big Ten championship game. To go 16-0, and in many of those games, or at least a handful, and some significant, important games, he was the reason why they won. one. They needed somebody to put him on the back to make a throw, to make a play, sometimes with his legs, a lot of times with his arms, and he delivered every single time. And when you think about Fernando Mendoza and what he's going to mean to the Raiders, what he already means to the Raiders, the future, the key that he is to the future, and how I think people are starting to, based on what he did last year and watching him play last year, and forecasting, what he might do in the future, and getting a better understanding of him. The more he talks, the more he gets out there, the more people see of him. I think the more of a light is being shown on him, and also I think he's making an impact with people just by being Fernando Mendoza. And recently Desmond Howard, the great Desmond Howard, was on Good Morning Football and had a lot of nice things to say about Fernando Mendoza. And here is Desmond Howard talking about Fernando from Good Morning Football.
So I started the show talking about, we do the draft, and we do the draft, meaning the College Game Day crew. We do it on ABC. And when we do it on ABC, my goal is to try to humanize these players for that audience, because that's not really a football-centric audience. So I want to try to tell their story, talk about their journey. So that's a great question, because I spoke to Fernando's parents in preparing for the draft. And one thing that I really love about him, I'm a guy who loves players, entertainers, anybody who bets on themselves. And Fernando was a guy who bet on himself. When he was in high school, he transferred to a different high school because he wasn't getting a chance to throw the ball. When he transferred, he wasn't told, hey, you're going to be our starting quarterback. They told him from the jump, you can come and compete, but you're probably going to be number 4 on our depth chart. But he went, he competed, and then he ended up at Cal. Now, the reason he ended up at Indiana, guys, is because his brother was at Indiana when he was quarterback at Cal. He would talk to his brother on the phone, and they would watch film. And Fernando would ask his brother about certain things he saw on film, and then his brother would ask him too. His brother told him, Fernando, we have an answer for everything. This is why I did that. Fernando's like, well, damn, here at Cal, I would have been baffled because I wouldn't have known what to do. So again, the young man bet on himself. He transferred to Indiana not because of the bag, but because he wanted to be developed as a quarterback who had answers for everything. So because of the way this young man thinks, I think he's going to have a fantastic NFL season. Now, I don't know what the Raiders got. I don't know what they got on the outside. I don't know who's blocking for him, but I think Fernando's going to be okay.
That's Desmond Howard, the great Desmond Howard, former Michigan Wolverine, Heisman Trophy winner, thorn in the side of Notre Dame without a doubt. But some glowing remarks about Fernando Mendoza. And again, Clay, hearing Desmond talk about him and the backstory and getting to know Fernando and his family, I'm going to keep reiterating this, but I just feel like Fernando is at an advanced level on so many different levels, just based on everything that he's gone through. This wasn't a 5-star recruit who had everything handed to him. Not that there's anything against that. That's where you want to be coming out of high school. Let's face it, that's everybody's dream, but it wasn't his story. That wasn't who he was. He had to find a different path, and his journey was filled with some twists and turns. Remember, he committed originally to Yale. That's where he was headed. And then an opportunity arose at Cal. He bet on himself, as Desmond Howard would say, went all the way across the country from Miami to go to Cal, played a lot of football at Cal and landed on a lot of different radars at Cal. It wasn't always pretty. It was not a very good football team. He took a beating as the quarterback. Wasn't the best offensive line. They were playing in the ACC, some really good football teams. Yep. But he grew from that, and he took that to Indiana and went through. I can't think of a quarterback. If you're the Raiders, if you're a Raider fan, Clay, I can't think of a prospect in terms of a number 1 pick at quarterback that if you look at his resume, what he's gone through, the life experiences, the growth, the football journey that he was on. If you're talking about, hey, can you draw up an ideally prepared young player to be handed the keys and to be the next quarterback of your football team, I can't think of somebody that has a better resume on all different levels, from life experiences to playing experiences, than Fernando Mendoza. And that's honestly why I think he's very well prepared to take that next step and take it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I love how Desmond Howard talks about, Mendoza betting on himself, and it's more than just to survive at Cal or Indiana. It's to learn more from the game and take that knowledge somewhere else and apply it. And it was very evident in the draft process when you saw how John Spytek talked about, when we had a chance to talk with him in the personal interviews, we threw a lot at him, and his processing skills is off the chart. We were so impressed at how he's able to diagnose as well as start to communicate and reverse engineer plays, just to see, like, all right, is this more than just regurgitation? He understands concepts and he can draw things up. And then when, I love Kubiak's comment when he says he came as advertised. This is the real guy. And I think for someone like Kubiak to say that, that shows that not only there's faith and confidence in what he can do, but he's also happy with the processing skills and his ability to constantly think through things and want to learn more and want to evolve as a player. And we have seen this, and we're kind of watching it before our eyes, the early involvement, the evolution of Fernando Mendoza. And when you ask that question about, for Raider Nation, like, what's your pride level on Mendoza right now as you start to sit at this point of the year in the summer and you're starting to think about the season? I think the pride level, it's got to be growing each and every day, but also from a high level, because you could see the potential in what he's able to do because he wants it so bad and is working for that.
Yeah, and so from a fan base's perspective, for the face of your franchise to be as classy and dignified and hardworking and professional and diligent and respectful as a Fernando Mendoza. I know the Raiders have this swashbuckling, edgy, persona, and that's never ever going to change, nor should it. But when you're talking about the head of it all, the face of it all, it's not a bad thing to have somebody that is as diligent, professional, dignified, or whatever, all those type of characteristics, because that's the quarterback. Everyone else could be crazy, on edge, and that's a beautiful thing and a great thing, and football needs that. You have to have that kind of passion in football. But when you're talking about your quarterback, that's your CEO right there. That's somebody that you have to be able to trust. And I guess, not to throw Jamarcus Russell, under the bus here, but he's in complete contrast to what Fernando Mendoza is all about, right? That the knock on Jamarcus, and really his what undermined Jamarcus, was the lack of professionalism that he had. You don't have to worry about that with Fernando. He is literally that CEO type that you are looking for in the leader of your organization, and that's exactly what he is going to be. And I think that it's also important when you mention those interviews that Fernando had with John Spytek, with Clint Kubiak, with Andrew Janocko. Sometimes it's just as important to focus not just on who's being asked the questions, but who's asking the questions. And when you think about Clint Kubiak and Spytek and Andrew Janocko, these are guys that stand for a pretty high level of intelligence, of care. They understand football. Clint Kubiak is the son of a coach. He's seen it firsthand, from the crib to now, basically. He grew up around it. And you look at his stops that he's made along the way and where he's coached, who he's coached for, from his dad to the Shanahans, to with Mike McDonald up in Seattle, and in his own way is his own man. There's nobody he's as sharp as it gets. So if he's asking the questions and he's impressed by the answers, to me that says a lot right there.
Oh, it is. Clint Kubiak is somebody who was babysat by Rick Dennison. Can you imagine Rick Dennison coming out there and being, well, let's go to the kitchen table with some of those Lego bricks you got there, Clint, and we'll draw up a play. We'll mastermind things. So he's been surrounded by it, and he's somebody that has seen it backwards and forwards and can understand if somebody is getting it or not too, right? Like the way he's been able to install offenses with 3 different types of quarterbacks. He knows if you're going to get this or not. And he's worked with some veterans, but he's also been somebody that's able to extrapolate his knowledge into someone else to make them even better, because he's been so good, Kubiak has, of being able to get the most out of guys by really accentuating what they do best.
Yeah, I think it's a really perfect marriage. And if Clint Kubiak checks off those boxes, then I'm checking off those boxes. Not that I needed Clint Kubiak, honestly, to tell me. I've learned a lot about Fernando Mendoza over these last 6 months or so, and I can't tell you how impressed I was at his pro day. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen personally, and I'm glad that I was there. Clay, you've got something important to talk about right now.
Oh, that's right. It's the word of the day, brought to you by Raider Nation Radio 920 and Terribles. It's the summer of fun as we're smack dab in the middle of this week, and this week's prize is the Mississippi River Cruise. Oh, what a prize this is. 5-night stay on a cabin cruise up and down the Mississippi River. And that's not all. We take care of your flights from LAX. We take care of your taxes, port fees, and gratuities. All you have to do is enter to win. And by doing so, you text the word of the day. Today, the word is flight. F-L-I-G-H-T. Flight. Text flight to 702-365-9200 for your chance to win the Summer of Fun prize, the Mississippi River Cruise, brought to you by Terribles and Raider Nation Radio 920. Coming up next, more of your thoughts at 702-365-9200 on the text line and on the phones here on Raider Nation Radio 920.
We'll take your comments and questions on X. Follow us at RNR 920 AM. Let's dig into the morning tailgate on Raider Nation Radio 920.
First pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana.
Welcome back to the morning tailgate on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, and Connor Collins. We are talking about Fernando Mendoza's great speech last night after winning the College Athlete of the Year award at the ESPYs. We're talking about his future. We're talking about awards. We're not quite at awards season. We're at awards prediction season. A couple weeks before, not even a couple weeks. Heck, there's rookies that are reporting next week across the NFL. But we want to get your thoughts and your predictions on the NFL awards: MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, and we're also going to throw in Coach of the Year. And Clay, I think we should start with the NFL, since we're talking about Fernando and he's an offensive player. The NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie Player of the Year award, and this one's a tough one because we don't know quite how much Fernando Mendoza is going to play, but my gut instinct is he's going to play a significant amount of football, and I think it's going to play enough to be in consideration for the offensive rookie player of the year, rookie of the year. And I'm going to go with Fernando Mendoza. Like I said, I've been pounding the table and kicking things and screaming and throwing things. I want to see Fernando Mendoza on the field. I think it's imperative. I think it's it would be a waste of a season for him and the Raiders if he didn't play a significant amount of football. I think he's going to get that opportunity, and I think as a result, he is going to be the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah, I think he definitely can get there. I mean, you got the two favorites right now is Jeremiah Love of the Cardinals and Fernando Mendoza of the Las Vegas Raiders. And for me, the guy who has the ball in his hands more often is the quarterback. He's the guy that has really more of a leg up to go and win that. And we kind of talked about early totals of what the global odds are. 2,750 passing yards is kind of like the overall total. If Fernando were to do a complete 17-game season, out of 17 games, I think there's more of that. I think there's more on the table for somebody like Fernando Mendoza, only because he's in a system that understands understands quarterbacks so well. So for anybody that's competing with him, for example, like a Jeremiah Love, as a running back, you're going to have it hard pressed. On a bad team, there's going to be times when your team is totally getting blown out and you're not going to get the rock. You're just not going to get the attempts. Late in the game, they're going to be throwing the ball, not running the ball. So I like a guy like Fernando Mendoza in that regard, just because he's a quarterback and somebody that's going to have the ball in his hands more often.
Yeah, and I think the edge that Jeremiah might have is that he's going to, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a focal point of their offense from week 1 to week 17. So whereas Fernando, there's still a huge question of when he's actually going to get on the field. So there's some ground that he might have to make up on a Jeremiah Love as the season goes on, depending on when he actually gets into the games. And I'm talking about Fernando. So that's where, if it's 17 games for both, then yes, without a doubt, I think Fernando Mendoza would have a chance potentially to run away with it. But I don't know that that's going to be the case. So that's why Jeremiah Love, I'm sure, is at the top of everybody's list. Others, Carnell Tate, the Ohio State wide receiver, the Tennessee Titans, is somebody that people are keeping an eye on. Jadarian Price, the Seahawks running back. Now, there's a situation that he's kind of a sneaky player for me because he's going into a situation with the Seattle Seahawks where he's going to get the rock a lot. Why? Well, Kenneth Walker, left as a free agent, so there's going to be an opportunity for Jadarian, who's I watched every game that Jadarian played at Notre Dame. He takes a back seat to nobody. I mean, his usage at Notre Dame obviously reflected the fact that they had the best running back in the country, Jeremiah Love, on the roster. Well, he was the second best running back in the country, and on many other teams, any other team, quite honestly, he would be the starter. He'd be the bell cow. He would have been a guy that got the rock, a lot of the time. So Jadarian Price going into a situation in Seattle where that thing is, you got a good solid offensive line. You got a good quarterback now. You've got, JSN, the wide receiver, who can take pressure off of you. You've got a coach that likes to play that kind of football, running the ball and controlling it from the line of scrimmage. So Jadarian Price, if you're looking for a, I wouldn't say that he's a long shot by any stretch of the imagination, but I guess if you're looking for some value, a guy like Jadarian Price is somebody to keep an eye on.
It's good because you're in a team that already is like sound offensively, and I think they already realized
the opposite of Jeremiah, right?
Yeah, really. And you have a formula that worked last year for Sam Darnold when you were able to do 50-50 run pass. They're probably going to try to stick to that same formula as just seeing how well it worked. And people could always say, well, Price is going to have to share time with Charbonnet. So what? That didn't hurt Walker whatsoever last year. And by the way, Zach is the kind of guy that's not going to be the overriding running back. He is still kind of like a flavor of the month, like a guy that's going to kind of spell the number one. And so if Price isn't like on the depth chart at number one, that just lets me know that, like, all right, down the road he's going to earn that job because he's somebody that can run between the tackles, catch the he do it all. Like, and that's why that was such a savvy pick at the end of the first round for the Seahawks to go and get Jadarian Price. He's somebody that can go and win that job. And if you are a betting person, that's a nice little plus price. That's like 8.5 to 1 for your money if you want to lay a little something on a running back like that. Although I still feel that team can really prove themselves and will have to prove themselves because they did lose Kenneth Walker, who was like a major facet on that offense. So it'll be an uphill climb if they can't get off the ground early with a good running game.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that they lost Kenneth Walker, but they may have ended up with a better replacement for him as a rookie. Jadarian Price is really good, and one other way that I think Jadarian is going to open up a lot of eyes. He's tremendous on special teams, and in particular as a kick returner. And we know now that the kick return is back in the NFL, back in vogue. So if people are, and I would imagine that the Seattle Seahawks are going to utilize that. He was electric and explosive in that regard at Notre Dame. I think he's going to get an opportunity to do that and make some big plays, and that's going to further his case. But Jeremiah Love, it'll be really interesting. I feel bad for the situation that he's going to, but he is really good. Yeah. And if it's a new offensive-minded head coach, Mike LaFleur.
Yeah, LaFleur.
Yeah, if he can give him a little bit of help. But again, my pick is Fernando Mendoza. I'm sticking with it. I think he's going to end up being the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. But what are your thoughts? What are your predictions? 702-365-9200 on all of the NFL awards: MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Coach of the Year. We're going to get out into all of that as the show goes on. But we want your thoughts. We want your text. 702-365-9200 is the morning tailgate on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
And one more time for the word of the day for those who didn't hear it. The word of the day is flight, F-L-I-G-H-T. Text that in to 702-365-9200 for your chance to win this week's entry into the Summer of Fun, brought to you by Terribles and Raider Nation Radio 920 here on the Morning Tailgate.
This is the Morning Tailgate.
Deuce! Goodbye! Into the end zone! 60 yards! Touchdown Raiders!
With Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, and Clay Baker.
It's the trifecta for Bowers! His third touchdown of the game! And the Raiders with a chance to win it!
On Raider Nation Radio 920.
Welcome back to the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m. Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, Connor Collins. We're talking about Fernando Mendoza's great award last night at the ESPYs and what that might bode for his future. Does he have an Offensive Rookie of the Year award in his immediate future? We're talking about that. We're talking about all the awards for the NFL: MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year. We want your thoughts, 702-365-9200. And who better to ask some of these questions than our own Jason Horowitz, the voice and radio play-by-play voice of the Raiders, and he joins us every week at this time. Jason, how are you doing today? How's your summer going? How geeked up are you about coming out to Henderson, Nevada for training camp here in a little while?
All of the above, but I'm jamming out today, Vinny. We oldest and I went to see Alex Warren in concert last night. He is awesome.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic show at Madison Square Garden. So, today I was before, it's 3 hours earlier, I'm in Trader Joe's. I'm doing grocery shopping, and I noticed that I was dancing through the vegetable aisle. A little bit different today. Not quite my norm.
What's your mode of transportation to the Garden?
We drove yesterday. So a lot of people will drive to Secaucus and then take the train in, or one of those train stations right before you get into the city. We drove, though, because the last train out, if you didn't want to wait for it, straight to our town, the 10:42, and if you missed that one, it was 12:08. So we drove, and then there's a little parking a couple blocks away from the Garden. But normally, I think we would drive to one of the train stops right before the city, and then take the train in.
What's the routine when you go to the Garden? Once you get down there, is there a place that you like to head into, and do you like to make sure that your son gets to see it full force? Was it his first time? Because the Garden is very cool once you enter.
Yesterday was my oldest daughter, who will be with me in Vegas in a couple weeks, as will Noah. No, that's okay. But honestly, and we used to live there, right? We lived in the city for 14 years. We haven't lived in the city for 7 years, and I have not been to the Garden in a while. They have completely transformed the area. I used to work there. Early on out of college, I was a host at MSG, which is the cable network in the city that has the Knicks, the Rangers, the Devils, the Islanders, some other stuff. And I used to work there, and it is totally different. 33rd Street between 7th and 8th is now like a plaza. You can't drive through there. It's all, all those watch parties you saw during the Knicks run to the championship was there.
Oh, okay.
It's really awesome what they've done around the Garden. It's totally different.
Yeah, it's a great area, and it has completely evolved. Over the years. One last one for you. Inside the Garden, I felt I was there. Within the last year or so. it kind of you're starting to see the age of the Garden, and there's good and bad with that. There's definitely some charm, but now when you go around to some of these spectacular arenas across the country, you could tell that there's some age showing. What are your thoughts on the interior of the Garden and kind of some of the old bones of it? And do you think that they're going to refurbish the inside of it anytime soon?
Well, they did. At least for my show, like they have widened the concourses. So like the area where you're walking, where your food and your merch and all that stuff. So they've made that bigger. Some of the seats they've redone a little bit. There's no question. You're talking about how old, Vinny? How old is that building? Like it's not the original Madison Square Garden. So is it like 70, 65, 70?
I think 60s, yes. Yeah, I believe it was 60s, maybe early 70s.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely up there. But there's, you look up in the rafters and you see that iconic ceiling. And remember, I'm not a New Yorker. I grew up in Michigan. So it's like my appreciation for Madison Square Garden is very different than, people who live in this area, from this area, all that stuff. But it's still special, and it's special, and I grew up in the suburbs in the Midwest, and living in New York City for 14 years. I still very much appreciate arenas and buildings that are surrounded by cities. Like I love that feeling when you can't even see the arena and then you come around a corner and all of a sudden, boom, it hits you in the face. I really like that. I really appreciate that. Wrigley Field, it's in a neighborhood, Fenway Park, like those type of things where they're not just like parking lot. I think there's something really special about those things. And I'm not a New Yorker. I used to be afraid growing up as a kid. I'm not going to live in New York. I loved it. Loved every part of it. And one day we will live there again, or at least part time. But it's still something pretty special.
That's why I really enjoy going to Detroit, believe it or not. And I tell people this all the time. I love the baseball, football field right next door to each other, and the basketball arena is not too far. That's kind of exactly what you're talking about. So I'm right there with you. All right, so Jason, we're talking about obviously Fernando won the College Athlete of the Year award last night at the ESPYs. A nice little speech that he put together. Gave a shout out to the Raiders. He's already representing the silver and black with a lot of class and dignity, and we're taking a look ahead to some of those awards that might be in his immediate future. One of which is the Offensive Rookie of the Year award, and he's number 2 on the odds, right behind Jeremiah Love, the running back from Arizona, Notre Dame, a guy that's with the Arizona Cardinals. So, first of all, how many games do you think Fernando would have to play to kind of get into that consideration? And what do you think about his odds of potentially winning that award? Yeah, I think you guys know that I think Fernando is going to be a superstar. And I, this is not from my eyes on film. This is not from there's just something about him that, like, if he's not good, all of this doesn't add up. And I'm sure there have been so many in the past who have won a Heisman and not, but like there's just so much about him and his process and his procedure and the way he goes about it and his story and how and the way he represents the organ. There's just so much about him that feels like it's going to be good. And so, like, again, and we talked about this last week. I do not care if they rush it or if they wait on it. That part of it doesn't bother me one bit. But it just feels like the buildup is there and it's coming. So to answer your question about, if he's going to win Rookie of the Year, how many games? The number 10 kind of sticks out. Okay. If he's playing before Halloween and he plays the whole last couple of months and he's playing really well, maybe that's not enough. I don't know, because I feel like awards like this, Vinny, you tell me if you guys decide, but like I feel like awards have this first impressions make lasting impressions. So, sometimes players in the month of September really stand out, and then all of a sudden, that's who they are, right? Emeka Egbuka last year is kind of a shining example. He had an amazing rookie year, but it was really at an amazing September and early October. And I want to say he had 6 touchdowns on the year. And again, I'm kind of thinking about that off the top of my head. I want to say he had 6 touchdowns, but I feel like 4 of them were in the first 3 games.
And he was, almost 1,000-yard receiver type thing, but he had a really good year. But it was so big early that it makes you think that that's the type of kid he was. I think Fernando gets to 10 to 12 games, he has a shot.
Do you ever think, like, sometimes, and I agree with you, hey, if you get off to a good start, that almost like greases the runway for you. The skids are nice and set up for you because you're in everyone's mind to begin with, and as the attrition of the NFL season goes on, you don't really remember so much through October, November, but you remember September really well. So in that regard, do you ever feel that maybe because the Raiders don't have any standalone national games, that might kind of like affect, maybe the way people is taking a look at him because they may not have him and the Raiders on their radar throughout the entire season, or at least at a standalone game somewhere in the middle?
Yes, I do. I do think that plays a role, but I also think because he's the number one pick, because he's a quarterback, that if he's playing that well, the attention will all be there and he'll be talked about. And oh, by the way, if he's playing to start, if he's playing that well, if they're coming close to winning games and they're in contention, there may be a moment where the Raiders have a game that gets flexed to a spot where they're not all Sunday afternoon, right? Mm-hmm. And part of that is who they're playing. Like if you look when games can start getting flexed towards Sunday night, and for that matter, Monday, if they need to flex out of other games. And I'm not looking at the Monday night schedule to see what games would get flexed out, but there's always one or two that you get to the November, December, you're like, God, these games are awful. We have to get rid of them. But you start looking at the games that the Raiders are playing in November and into December, and they're playing teams that you're talking about major contention, right? You're talking about the Niners, the Seahawks, the Broncos, the Chargers. The Broncos are there again, right? So all of those things are possibilities. And then, and I'm not positive about this, but I do think games can get flexed into Saturday, those last 2 weeks of the season, because I believe both of those weeks they have 2 games on Saturday plus the Sunday games.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not like a definitive, like, hey, this team is not going to play a standalone game. And if he's doing all that, then there is the chance at the end of the season where he can cement it with like, hey, we have played this game. Oh, by the way, here he is. Yeah. All of those things are there.
Yep.
Talking to Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Raiders broadcast, play-by-play voice of the Raiders. All right, so for Offensive Player of the Year, Ashton Jeanty is listed at plus 400 right now. And, of course, you've got Brock Bowers. He's a little bit further down on the list at plus 7,500. The leader in the Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back from the Detroit Lions, is the odds-on favorite at the moment, along with Bijan Robinson, the running back from the Atlanta Falcons. I think running back is a great position for this type of award because you're going to get a lot of carries. You're going to get a chance to do a lot of things. What are your thoughts on sneaky? Maybe Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty being in that consideration by the end of the year.
So I like Ashton. I like Ashton a lot. The question is, if we're talking about, can Fernando and Ashton both win those type of awards? And the answer is, if the Raiders go from having one of the worst offenses in the NFL to being one that people are talking about, and, I think we all know this comes from a fantasy perspective too, then 100% that's in the thing. The interesting thing, Vinny, is you just listed a whole bunch of guys that are, these odds. When was the last? And again, a lot of this is the other award, right? The MVP goes to quarterback without question, always. Yeah. And then, and whether that's right or wrong is a different story, but that's how it goes.
That's how it is.
But then this award has gone to another position every year, I think in the last 7 or 8 years. But here's the other thing. There's not ever a repeat winner. And you got to, correct me if I'm wrong, but when was the last time you had someone win the AP NFL Offensive Player of the Year award for a second time? Yeah, it's been at least a decade. Now, how much beyond that, I don't know, but I know it's been at least a decade. So, that takes out your Christian McCaffrey. That probably, now not officially, but McCaffrey's recently won the award. Barkley's recently won the award. Jackson Smith and Jigba won the award last year. I know Derrick Henry's won the award. I think the year that Cooper Kupp broke the record with the Rams, and he won the award, right? Because I think, whoever else was the MVP, he was the MVP, the Offensive Player of the Year, and maybe should have been the MVP. So it's there's a name of someone. You mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not on there. I have a hard time thinking that the Lions are ready to roll again. I believe more in Bijan Robinson of the names that you mentioned. I think Puka Nacua is a name that I would certainly look. Obviously, Devontae's there, and Matthew Stafford just won the MVP, but I have a hard time believing that the Rams' offense isn't just going to roll. But Ashton is a really good one because, remember, expectations are what sets how people sees all these things. And the expectation is that Brock Bowers is the best tight end in football, which is really hard for you to go out and match. But the expectation for Ashton is he's like the 12th or 15th best running back. And so if he goes out and has a massive season and the Raiders are winning games and, there's a tension because of Mendoza, but Ashton's the guy who's doing all these things, that's a great option for AP Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, it really is. And I was thinking just even in like dreaming terms of, what it would be like for like a defensive rookie to come out of the Raiders when you think of how they went about the draft to go and find ball hawking guys in the secondary. And what if Jermod McCoy or Traden Stukes finds a way that all of a sudden an offense or a defense that has been so bereft of interceptions, all of a sudden there's a handful of them coming from a guy like maybe 4 to 6 of game-changing interceptions from McCoy or perhaps even Stukes. Wonder what that would do to the mix of how things are starting to look for the Raiders, because they're not unlike the normal defensive rookie of the year odds because they're just kind of like under the radar. But for a team that doesn't get a lot of turnovers, what if this mix really worked in a Rob Leonard defense?
It would be amazing. I have a harder time. It's interesting because we're talking about, can Mendoza win Rookie of the Year if they don't have any primetime standalone games? I think it's much harder for a defensive player to do that when people aren't necessarily seeing them every week, because Mendoza is going to get a lot of attention. Jeremiah Love's going to get a lot of attention, whether they're on primetime standalone games or not. I don't know that your defensive player with 5 or 6 interceptions, if that happens, is going to get all of that attention.
Yeah.
Just by you know what I mean?
Because of the team you're on. You're right.
Yeah. Now, because, and here's the other part, think about the places where those top defensive players got drafted to, right? And how many times people are going to be talking just by nature of who drafted them.
Yeah, Ruben Bailey.
David Bailey's with the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Ruben Bailey, I think, is going to have a great year at Tampa. But, Bailey's with the Jets. Arvell Reese is with the Giants. Sonny Styles is with the Cowboys, right?
Big markets.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm blanking on the linebacker with the Commanders, but
Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs with the Cowboys. Sonny Styles is with the Commanders.
Sonny Styles. So is it Sonny Styles?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, like all those teams that whether they deserve it or not get attention. So it's going to be really hard to overtake that if those guys have great years. But let's go. Let's shoot big.
Well, here's the thing about Jermod. I think that because of the advanced notoriety of him, the whole thing with the knee, the way he fell in the draft, I think there's actually, if he gets on the field, which I believe he will, I think there's going to be a spotlight based on all of those things now on him. Like, this is a guy that was considered a top 5 pick, top 10 pick in the NFL draft that slid to the 4th round because of circumstance. But he's still that player. He's still that caliber of player. So do you think that could help him, just the fact that he gets on the field, and if he does Jermod McCoy type things, if he's the guy that we remembered seeing at Tennessee?
That I do think, yes. I think that's a great point. Yeah. Yes, Vinny, I think that's a great point. If I think because of the fact that Jermod McCoy was passed over and was beyond day one, the talking point of the draft when it came to players, I think that 100% makes a lot of sense, and I think he's got a great shot at it if he's able to have that type of year. But here's the thing, though, Vinny, still never seen him practice.
Why should that hold you back?
I'm just saying.
That's imminent. That's going to happen here pretty soon. I really am excited for Raider Nation, and I'm knocking on wood for Jermod McCoy that he has a nice long career because Jason, we're talking about a guy that is an elite player. I mean, he's one of those guys that has that rare combination of explosiveness, athletic ability, instincts. You go watch the film and see how he plays. There's really not much that you don't like about the game whatsoever. So if he's good to go and ready to go, and I think the Raiders are going to try to get as much as possible as they can out of him for as long as they can. I think he's going to have an opportunity to really open some eyes, and the practice part of it, Jason, is definitely coming.
Yeah, no, and I'm looking forward. I think we're all looking forward to seeing that. And he's also on a team where he's going to have the opportunity to win the job, right? I mean, that's what you hope for as a rookie, among other things. But you want to play, and he is absolutely going to have that opportunity, as will the other guys, right? I mean, as will Massive, and as will Porter, who played last year, and those guys, or whoever's gonna that's the great thing about this. They're all young. It's a new staff, although Rob Leonard certainly knows the guys that were here. But it's a great opportunity. Like, it's wide open. Whoever is the best player, whoever is playing the best, will be the one that goes win the job.
Jason, we started the show playing the audio of Fernando's acceptance speech for the ESPYs yesterday, and then we played some great comments from Desmond Howard praising his journey. What was it like for you in 2005 for your journey when you won the Television Broadcast News Championship, going up against everyone else in the country, coming out of Syracuse? You were part of the Hearst Awards, the William Randolph Hearst Awards. That must have been an amazing moment for you when you're top in the nation.
Well, I finished third, though.
Well, you're pictured with the winner.
Yeah, I am pictured with the winner. I will say that was really fun. I had already graduated. The Hearst Award Foundation was out in San Francisco. We had gotten to, all of it was awesome. I went out there with the dean of the Syracuse school, right, because they wanted to be represented well.
Oh,
and he
nice.
had become, a mentor of mine. Dean Rubin was just a phenomenal person in the newspaper industry, and it was wonderful. It really was. I will tell you, though, that I might have deserved fourth, not just third.
But you had Dean Martin on your side, so that worked out well.
I had Dean Rubin on my side. I don't know if I had Dean Martin on my side. If Dean Martin was on my side, things might have gone well.
Well, he's at MSG tonight after Alex Warren wore everybody out. So make sure you get your tickets.
I can only imagine what the speeches they had to have put a. First of all, I don't know if speeches are even a part of that award, but I would imagine with a bunch of journalists and a bunch of broadcasters, that could get a little bit verbose. All right, so what's the plan for Jason in terms of training camp when you're coming out here, and what is it that you really want to see and glean from this preseason and the training camp? And quite honestly, how excited are you too about the practices getting set up against the Houston Texans?
Yeah, I mean, so rookies report next Thursday, veterans report on the 28th. I will be there for all those practices starting the 29th. So the first three practices, then back here, and then back for the week where we have practice at Henderson, and then the one Allegiant Stadium leading up to the game against the Cardinals. So looking forward to all of that. The week in Houston will be, it's interesting. I don't remember with the practices that we have had most recently with the Niners. My second year was with the Patriots. A couple years ago, we practiced against the Rams. I don't remember the team only having one joint practice. Is that new? I feel like we've had two or three in all of those. One feels interesting.
Last year was one because Pete Carroll wasn't really a fan of it. He kind of had to get talked into doing that one-day practice with the, with the 49ers. So, but I think what's happening now, are you talking about just the one practice between the team without rather than the two practices?
Yes. Is that okay, the thing now?
And I think the reason for that is those day twos could get really ugly after one day of battling. After one day. That's what I'm assuming. I feel pretty strongly about my position here that usually day twos turn into a waste because it's just fisticuffs. So you're sick and tired already of going against those guys. So and also I will say this: if you notice. not in the Texans' case at least, but the Raiders play the Cardinals this year because the Raiders and all the West Coast teams play each other. Whether you're an AFC team or an NFC team, there's still a lot of joint practices between even though you're playing them later on in the season, you're also playing them in the preseason, which is odd, but for travel reasons, that's what they did. So I'm wondering if they're trying to condense some of that as well, so that
that makes sense too. Yeah, and I will say with the Texans part of this, Vinny, look, it's always good to practice against somebody else. And you can't determine who you're going to get in those practices. Like last year when the Niners were in Henderson, their best players didn't play, almost all of them, right? So the Raiders won. They were all hurt. The Raiders ones were not going up against the players who made this, like none of them. Right. With the Texans, you hope you get their A defense because their A defense is the best defense in the NFL or at a minimum top 5. And so that would be for a team that is hoping to completely overhaul the offense. It will be a great look for this offensive line, and for that matter, the skill players, because the Texans secondary is as young as good as it gets. It will be a great opportunity for them to see how they stack up against a team that, frankly, they had one of their best offensive games of the year against last year. At least Ashton did. So it'll be a good opportunity to see how they look against that defense.
Might be what determines who the starting quarterback is going to be. I'm just saying. We'll see what how Fernando looks against. Against that, I think, yes, actually, I do, and I think that in particular, how the offensive line holds up against that defensive line. If the offensive line can show that they can, at least compete with that defensive line, it's going to give the Raiders a lot of confidence that they could protect Fernando Mendoza. You're not putting them behind, just a 5-star alarm offensive line, and if he's able to handle himself pretty well against the Texans, I think it's going to go a long way and, hey, creating a comfort level that Fernando is going to be ready to start the season. But we will see, because the opposite could happen, and the Raiders' offensive line can get ravaged against those guys, and it would have the opposite effect. Jason Horowitz, we are a day closer to seeing you, and we can't wait for that. Thank you so much. Rest up after the big concert last night. I know you were probably burning the midnight oil, so get a good nap. Yeah, get a good nap in, and appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week, my good friend.
I hope you guys listen to Fever Dream all day long. See you guys later.
Thank you, Jason. Have a happy birthday coming up, man. We appreciate your time.
See you guys next week. See you guys.
That was Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Raiders radio broadcast. We always appreciate his time. We'll talk to him next week. And pretty soon, Clay, we're going to be able to talk to him about actual observations of Jermon McCoy, of Fernando Mendoza, of the offensive line up close and personal. It's Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m., the morning tailgate show. We want your thoughts, 702-365-9200, on what you think, what your predictions are for the NFL awards. Give us a call, 702-365-9200 on the morning tailgate, Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
Vince, Vinny, and Clay want to hear from you. Call or text the show at 702-365-9200. Now, back to the morning tailgate.
The morning tailgate on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m. Vinny, Clay, and Connor. And our thanks again to Jason Horowitz, the great voice of the Raiders on their radio broadcast. One of the best play-by-play commentators or people out there, without a doubt. We're talking about awards. We're talking about our predictions for the NFL awards. I think Fernando Mendoza, that's my pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year. We could talk about Defensive Rookie of the Year as well, in terms of who that might be. Clay, who's your pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year?
For Defensive Rookie of the Year, it's funny because you got guys that kind of look very similar, but I love rookies that will go to good teams. And Ruben Bain Jr. is somebody that is like Hallmark, just earmarked for some great spot to go and rush the passer, go and be prolific. We saw what he was able to do, especially for Miami in that final game against India. But just having him there in a good, solid defensive line that's already ready to go, and they're just kind of like one player away from being a dominant defense again. So I like Ruben Bain Jr. And that's a plus 450, so 4.5 to 1 for your money. That's not bad.
Yeah, I like Ruben Bain. I think he's going into a really good situation, and I think he's got. I know he feels he's got a lot to prove. He should have been a top 10 pick based on statistics, based on film, but he went in the teens because he didn't have the ideal measurables that we always talk about in terms of the arm length and that sort of thing. So unfortunately for him, he had to wait a little bit longer in the first round, but he goes to a good situation. I think they're going to be winning a few games and in the lead. So other teams are going to have to throw the ball a little bit. Might give him an opportunity to get a few more sacks. So we'll see about all that. Let's move to Defensive Player of the Year award. Right now, Myles Garrett is plus 450. He moves from the Cleveland Browns to the Los Angeles Rams, and he's the reigning Defensive Player of the Year award winner from the Cleveland Browns. What's really interesting, and he set a record for sacks last year. What was it, 21.5? I think it was, or somewhere, whatever that was. It was over 20 sacks last year. It was a record-setting season. And what I marvel at about that, Clay, is that he did that with playing with a putrid offense. The Cleveland Browns weren't scaring anybody offensively. They were one of the worst offenses in the league. They were one of the worst teams in the league, which meant he gets his 20-plus sacks on a team that was playing against. We're playing in a bunch of games where the other team had the lead and didn't really necessarily have to throw the ball to get back. Sometimes, as a defensive player, you can. It's not that you're, padding your stats, but you're getting more of an opportunity to rush the passer because the other team is playing from behind. Here's my thing about Myles Garrett, which it's not always often that somebody repeats in these awards. We mentioned that with the Offensive Player of the Year, talking to Jason. I think that he's actually in a pretty good place with the Rams to repeat, because with as good as the Rams are offensively, and they were the highest scoring team in the league last year at 30.5 points per game, I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities because other teams are going to be throwing the ball to get back into games. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to rush the passer. I'm not saying that he's going to break the record again, but I guess I wouldn't be shocked because he's going to get so many more opportunities this year to rush the passer.
I didn't think of it like that. Yeah, that there's something to that. There's something to actually having opportunity when you get down to it. And the defense is one of which there's many different weapons, but one of which you can't stop one particular force. And if you can get any price on that, I think that's very conservative, but a very good bet. I almost was,
and I'm definitely not talking about betting. I'm just talking about who I think's going to win. And you're not going to win any money, right? You know that world better than I do. I mean, you'd have to probably bet a lot of money to win a little bit of money on a guy.
Well, and also I don't like just like betting something right now and then you wait like another 12 months or 10 months for it to get out. Like I hate tying my money up for season-long awards, and they're so hard to garner and win because it's not about stats. See, it's about other things that make you win these awards because it's not just perfectly equal. And I've always thought about for my pick was, I would always root for somebody like Max because Max really does put up the stats. Max puts up fantastic numbers, especially for a team. Sometimes that is, he gets numbers when teams are like obviously up by maybe 2 scores. And there's not enough passing downs to go and sack the quarterback and disrupt things. But yet he still does. He still finds a way to cause disruption all the time. For the sake of argument, he's 22 to 1. Max is this year. Will Anderson, though, plus 750. It just seems like this, after 12 sacks last year, he's just on this gradient of getting more and more opportunities. And that defense is still very, very strong and opportunistic. They're like gnats. The way they played the Bills last year on Thursday night, he couldn't get them off him. Josh Allen was like running for his life constantly, and I think Will Anderson Jr. could be a product of another good year defensively by the Texans, where they just completely rely on how great they are, and he could be the focal point of getting that kind of accolades, and getting a Defensive Player of the Year award seems likely for him. He's 7.5 to 1.
Yeah, and others in consideration are Aiden Hutchinson from the Detroit Lions, obviously Max Crosby, Nick Bosa from the San Francisco 49ers, and Nick Benito from the Denver Broncos. Here's one other argument I'll make for Myles Garrett repeating. The other thing that the Rams did was they had one real weakness defensively, and that was their cornerbacks. Well, they go and trade for Trent McDuffie and sign his former chief teammate, Jalen Watson, and so they turned they didn't just even strengthen a weakness. They made a weakness one of their strengths defensively. You're talking about Trent McDuffie, who is a rare breed at cornerback, and Jalen Watson is no slouch either. So all of a sudden now they're going to be even stronger on that back end, which goes hand in hand with your pass rush. So, and maybe Trent McDuffie is a guy to keep an eye on as well, because he might get some more opportunities because the pass rush is going to be so good. But I don't know. I feel pretty strongly about Myles Garrett here, because I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities now as opposed to what was happening in Cleveland. It's kind of the Max Crosby situation. Unfortunately for Max, he doesn't get those high leverage moments where the other team is in desperation mode and is throwing and dropping back, and that's where pass rushers feed off of those situations, because that they're not going to run the ball. You can pin your ears back, and Max thrives in those types of situations. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't get as many. Myles Garrett, I think, is going to feed off of those types of moments, because I see a lot of those moments in his future with the Rams. So who is your pick? I'm going with Myles Garrett as a repeat. Who you got winning that award?
I'll take Will Anderson Jr., the young up-and-comer on a team that continues to thrive and surprise everybody on defense.
There you go. Well, we want your thoughts. Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, and, of course, MVP and Coach of the Year. It's the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m. We want your thoughts. 702-365-9200. Case Keenum is coming up at the top of the hour, the great writer from the Las Vegas Sun, and we'll get a chance to talk to him and get his thoughts as well on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
Real quick, before we get out of here, I want to do a quick giveaway. We got a couple tickets here still to give away for the Totally Tubular Festival going on right now at the Sahara Pool at the Las Vegas. We're going down on July 25th, guys. I have a pair of tickets to the Totally Tubular Festival. Again, it's at the Sahara Pool in the Las Vegas Hotel, July 25th. Give me a call right now. I'm taking caller number 9 at 702-365-9200. That's going to be caller number 9 at 702-365-9200 for your chance at a pair of tickets to the Totally Tubular Festival.
We'll take your comments and questions on X. Follow us at RNR 920 AM. Let's dig in to the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio 920.
Welcome back to the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m. Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, and Connor Collins. And Clay, it sounds like the people are talking. We've got some text. What do we got?
There's some thoughts up at the text line, 702-365-9200. Send them in as we're talking about potential NFL awards and thinking about the Raiders. Stinkman texting in from the 803, knowing Kubiak's prowess to maximize his best offensive players, sign me up for Bowers, Offensive Player of the Year. All right. What's the number for him for OPOY? But I like where that's going, because we can see with what a full season can be like for somebody like Brock Bowers. It could be dominant, and the way he's able to go and kind of like glean from Kubiak, where Kubiak goes and calls him a perfect football robot. Maybe this could be like an idea of how great this could be for a year like Brock.
Yeah, and obviously last year was injury marred for him, so we didn't get the full effect of Brock Bowers. He played 12 games, started 8, was hurt basically the entire year after suffering the knee injury in Week 1. If you go back the year before, 112 catches, 1,194 yards, and that was with bad quarterback play. Let's face it. Last year was no better, quite honestly. So even when he was on the field, it was with a very watered down type of an offensive infrastructure infrastructure around him, you figure that things are going to get better. You figure the offensive line is going to get better. You figure that's going to result in the quarterback play being better. You figure that there's going to be a better plan, a better scheme, a better design, better play calling with Clint Kubiak now the head coach. You feel like there's going to be a better run game, which can help open up things for the pass games. So there's no reason for me to believe that Brock Bowers can't improve on that rookie season, which was spectacular. I don't know about 112 catches, but somewhere around that. And I could see 1,100 or let's just say 1,200 yards getting into that 1,400-yard range because of everything being better around him. What do you think?
I think that's a big possibility. And when you also look at how it's not like there's a wide receiver necessarily that's really going to eat into the time, eat into the playbook as much as Brock Bowers is going to. So he's your de facto number one, and he's a guy that's going to really, I think, really progress through a Kubiak system. We asked our research team to look up what the numbers are for Brock Bowers and these prodigious totals and what the odds could be. Connor Collins went deep into the research. What did we uncover?
I looked up, it looks like here, as far as the odds go, I know you guys mentioned here for Brock Bowers, he is at a plus 7,000, so essentially a 70-1 odd there. Here's some of the names that are actually going to be around Brock Bowers if you were looking at the value. You have, ironically, Josh Jacobs, former Las Vegas Raider running back. Okay. You have Jeremiah Love in the mix there. You're looking at Jaden Daniels at plus 7,500. Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams also at plus 7,500. And then right underneath Brock Bowers at a little bit better odds, you're looking at Devontae Smith, Jackson Dart, and Lamar Jackson around plus 6,000. So Brock Bowers is really well right in the middle of the mix there as far as skill position goes.
Yeah, and rightfully so, right, Clay? This is somebody that I think is the best tight end in the game. And when you look at the other best tight ends in the game, they have the luxury of having really good offenses around them and really good quarterback play getting them the ball. Brock has not had that luxury through his first two seasons, but I think that's going to change, which should help his cause.
And, Brock's always having to lose behind. Like, even when in his rookie season, he lost Offensive Rookie of the Year to Jaden Daniels. You know what I mean? It's like Brock got like second place with 214 points, and Jaden had 495 points. It's hard to go and beat the quarterbacks. It's hard to go and like just try to rise above that. But sometimes it takes a quarterback that can maybe throw 40 times a game, and keep that and keep drives alive. And can we foresee that where like Brock could be the beneficiary of extended drives, like you said, better offenses, perhaps a quarterback that's able to get downfield and have more pass attempts. That's what it's going to come down to, because we've looked at like how efficient maybe Kubiak wants this offense to be, but if they happen to get down in a few games, they got to keep throwing, and like Bowers has got to be the reward for that. I don't feel like any other tight end can go and benefit more from what a new look can be other than Bowers, because this is something that this offense is tailor-made for somebody like him.
Travis Kelce has had years where 103 catches, 1,400 yards. My thing with Brock Bowers is if you get him the ball over 100 times, the production is going to be there. He is a rare athlete. He's a rare explosive athlete, and he does most of his damage. First of all, he can catch anything. He's a tremendous route runner. Yep. He knows how to use his hands. He knows how to to get open. And then once the ball is in his hands, that's when the real magic starts. So if they can get him back into that over 100 catches range, then the production is going to be there. So there's no reason why Travis Kelce was able to get 103 catches, 1,400 yards 1 year, and that was kind of a typical season for him. That's not going to happen for Brock Bowers. It doesn't even have to be all the way down the field. There will be times when that happens. He's just the ultimate type of a weapon where once you get the ball in his hands, and I know in a Clint Kubiak offense, part of the design of his offense is getting the ball to your offensive weapons in ways and in manners that allow them to then go take it from there and go, get a whole bunch of yards after the catch. So I do believe with everything that the improvements that I expect to see from this Raiders offense, I believe it's going to put Brock in a much better position to be able to do what he does best, and that's destroy people once the ball is in his hands.
One thing that kind of separates, like you brought up, Kelsey from the rest of the pack are red zone numbers. And can Brock Bowers' touchdown numbers be increased this year? That's what I would like to see, because even somebody like, Trey McBride, from Arizona was able to get like 11 touches last year on a team that was going nowhere, but they had enough time that they were letting Jacoby Brissett throw 40, 50 times a game. But can Brock Bowers be the beneficiary of red zone targets and being that guy in the end zone so he can actually go and start kind of separating himself from the rest of the pack?
Yeah, for sure. Do we have any more texts?
Yeah, at 702-365-9200. Keep them coming. We'll read them more and get more into the third hour as we talk to Case Keefer coming up next from the Las Vegas Sun. Here on Raider Nation Radio 920. Don't forget, the word of the day is flight, F-L-I-G-H-T. Send that in to 702-365-9200. And we'll also get a chance to get more of your thoughts as we go deeper into the Offensive Player of the Year awards, Defensive Player of the Year awards. And also, we got some texts on some Raider rookies that could make a splash into the Rookie of the Year awards on both sides of the ball. We'll get more of your thoughts here on Raider Nation Radio 920. It's the Morning Tailgate with Connor, Vinny, and Clay here on your Thursday.
This is the Morning Tailgate.
There have been plenty of other coaches, but why not us? Why not this staff? Why not this group of players? I look at it as, what a great challenge. We're going to be about the work.
He is back, baby! And the Raiders regain the lead!
With Vince Sapienza, Vinny Bonsignor, and Clay Baker on Raider Nation Radio 920.
It is the Morning Tailgate Show. It is Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. I'm Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, and Connor Collins. And as we love to do from time to time, we were welcoming Case Keefer, the great sports writer, sports editor from the Las Vegas Sun. Case, welcome in. Good to talk to you. Good to hear your voice. But I got to ask you, as somebody that knows you, Case, and you say it in your Twitter profile, probably watching and sweating a game somewhere. I got to ask you to put in perspective what we saw from a bettor's standpoint yesterday when England, and Argentina hooked horns, and it looked like England was headed to the World Cup final, only for Messi to do Messi type things, and really Argentina snatched victory from the jaws of England and ended up winning that thing. What, from a bettor's standpoint, if you were on England right there, how devastating was that, and what's the feeling like if you're an Argentina fan or an Argentina bettor?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, first of all, and the great intro. I love where we're starting. From this bettor's perspective, it was thrilling because I've been banging the drum since before the tournament. I have a big Argentina future, and to be honest, I kind of thought it was dead. You go down 1-0, feels like like 21-0 if it's an NFL game. So I was kind of sitting here saying, well, it was a good run. I guess I have no futures positions in the final, so I'll be able to look at it with just fresh eyes. And then all of a sudden, it felt like an NFL game where a team takes a big lead and they just start running into the middle of the line and the fans are groaning, trying to run the clock. It just seemed like England played back and kind of gave Argentina too many chances to get back in the game. And just a wild swing betting-wise, especially for Argentina to get it done within the 90 minutes. I wasn't really monitoring the live markets, but you got to think when they go up 1-0 in the second half, I'm sure England was probably like a very prohibitive favorite, maybe not 1-2, 10, but something like that. You could have gotten a huge price on Argentina. So, and we know, globally, the World Cup's bet so much. So literally no exaggeration that millions and millions of dollars changed hands there. And, I know Americans haven't fully embraced soccer, and there's still some that probably resent we're even talking about it now. But I really saw, like I said, a lot of parallels with just any other sport, especially football. How many times are we going to see that this fall, where a team looks like that they have a spot, they have a chance to take a big lead and just doesn't play it right from there. And you let a talented side have too many chances that they're going to come back and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat.
How do you like it now with Argentina? Obviously, you got a little something on Argentina, but how do you feel this will play out now against Spain?
I really thought if Spain got past France, that I liked my chances way better. I didn't love the matchup of Argentina-France just being in a second straight World Cup. Maybe I'm putting too much into this, but I kind of thought France would beat them. It'd be a better matchup. In my heart of hearts, I kind of feel like Argentina gets it done against Spain. I think it's going to be very close. It might be like a 1-0, a 1-0 game, or go to extra time with no score. I think it's going to be very low scoring, but I think it's a little bit more of a coin flip than the betting market has it right now. Spain a solid favorite, and they've been very good defensively. And I know Argentina's gotten lucky a few times, but their underlying metrics, they've still been very, very strong. And defensively, I think they're good too. We've just seen some goals on them have been spectacular plays, including that England one yesterday. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Got to decide if I want to arbitrage my position a little bit and somehow find a way to get a little bit on Spain. But I think Argentina gets it done.
We're talking to Case Keefer from the Las Vegas Sun. He's the great sports editor from the Sun and covers Las Vegas sports as well as anybody in town. Case, we're talking about, Fernando Mendoza last night won the College Athlete of the Year award from ESPY, from ESPN's ESPY Awards, and we're using that as a launching off, a point to begin his campaign for maybe Offensive Rookie of the Year award here in the NFL in his rookie year. Now, I guess the question is, when is he going to get on the field? Is he going to get on the field? And what would he have to do? How many games would he have to play? And what type of statistics would he have to put up for him to be in contention? A, what do you think about his campaign? And B, what do you think he would need to do to put throw his hat in that ring?
Yeah, I love the topic. You guys really speaking my language today. I know right now he's the second favorite behind Jeremiah Love, I believe. And I think that sounds right just because of, like you alluded to and we've talked about so many times, is when is he going to take over? I think if he has an incredible training camp and he does win the job out of week one, then I think without a doubt he's hands down the favorite. He'll overtake Jeremiah Love. I think there's always a natural, for lack of a better word, bias towards the guy that goes number one overall. He's the one we have the highest expectations for. So if he lives up to that potential and flashes right away, I think the stage is set for him to win it. However, and I don't remember the exact number, I'm still trying to get into football mode, but there is a history where I think it's like the guy needs to be started by maybe it's week 5 or week 6. It's just really an uphill battle to win it if you don't start earlier in the season. I know this is kind of an extreme example, but I go back a couple years ago when Brock Purdy took over week 12 or whatever, and was probably the best rookie that year, but just didn't have enough time to ultimately overtake. I can't even remember who won. He came a close second. So I feel like if you're betting Fernando Mendoza, I think week 6 for sure would be a cutoff for me. You got to convince yourself for sure he's going to be playing by then. Preferably, I'd probably want him in week 4 or week 5. So as far as this one, I just think training camp's going to tell a huge part of the story. If you think he's going to be the starter for week 1, I mean, I think there's probably some value on his betting odds right now. I think he should be the favorite. I know we've kind of disagreed or gone back and forth on this in the past. I kind of feel like it's going to be a few weeks, so that would maybe make me leaning to pick somewhere else, but there's no doubt he has the talent and the ability to get this done and win Rookie of the Year.
All right, so global odds kind of have Mendoza, as far as passing yardage concerned, in the cumulative regular season, 2,750 passing yards. All right, what do you think about that? Because that's something that could be attainable with a handful of games, especially if you're able to start earlier than later.
Yeah, for sure. I still am just of the opinion that they might be a little bit cautious with him here and not throw him out right away. So my just snap reaction, and this is not something I bet, not something I feel super strongly about. I do want to see what he does, in practice in the preseason, but I'd kind of be leaning more towards the under. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of excitement about him. A lot of people are going to get carried away and can't wait to bet him. But again, we just don't even know if he's going to be playing. So I like Fernando Mendoza. I think he was a clear number one pick. I wasn't one of these people that was banging the drum to trade down. Mm-hmm. I'd still rather be a little bit cautious. I'm just not 100% sure when he's going to take over. So probably a slight lean to the under for me.
So last year it was McMillan, the wide receiver from the Carolina Panthers, who won the award, 41 of the 51st place votes. But Tyler Shuck from the Saints finished second and had 5 first place votes, and he played in 11 games. I want to say he started 9. So there you go. That seems to be like a little bit of that sweet spot. If you're able to get into your start 9-10 games, you're going to put yourself into consideration. I guess the last question on that one would be, what do you think the chances are that Fernando starts 8 plus games this year?
Ooh, I think pretty strong, even though now that I've just been doing the math, and I know I've kind of been poo-pooing it a little bit, saying that you want him to start by week 6. I mean, if you get there, that's above the bar of 8. And I know they kind of the schedule starts a little bit easy. I think that's the one thing that kind of concerns you if you're going with the assumption that Kirk Cousins is going to be the week 1 starter. You got to think, at least week 1 he has an opportunity to look good. Then maybe a couple more winnable games after that. I still feel like maybe before midseason you're going to want to see what Mendoza has. Of course, a lot goes on. A lot comes down to how they perform. But I just think the excitement of what we've had and what we've seen out of Mendoza, that I'd say you got to say he starts more than half the season if I had to guess right now.
When you look at what could be had for other guys in this offense, and you're hoping everything starts to click as far as Kubiak's offense, how could you have fashioned to see what Ashton Genty's year could look like as far as not only having an offensive line that's able to work with him, but other competent quarterback play that can go and help him reach a new level?
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by for a lack of a better word, the fantasy positions on the Raiders. I feel like even though we've had our fair struggles here since the Raiders have been in Las Vegas, I feel like we've gone into training camp a lot, and a lot of these positions are settled. We know exactly what's going to happen. And I know people right now might slot running back under that for the Raiders, given that Genty was drafted so high and there's such high expectations for him. But I'm still interested to see it. It felt like to me for a while this was leaning towards they're going to get more than one guy involved. Genty will be out there a lot, but Kubiak's past kind of tells you that he's going to want that second guy to split carries. Then, of course, I think it was during OTAs or maybe minicamp whenever he came out and said, no, we want Genty to be out there as much as possible. So I wouldn't say it's like a position battle or anything, but I do think there's a lot to be determined in training camp, whether it's just going to be Genty who's going to be the every down guy or whether they rotate some guys in. Okay. That's going to be something I'm really intrigued to watch. And even if it does end up being the latter, I don't think that's necessarily a knock for Genty. I think getting him a breather and cutting into his workload a little bit is definitely going to improve his longevity, and I think it's going to maybe amp up his chances for a home run ball. So the big question to me with Genty is just how much is he out there? Is he splitting carries, or is he going to be the guy every down?
I want to throw a name at you that I know you're well versed with, and that's Todd Gurley, the great former Georgia running back. You're a Georgia guy. In 2016, this is what I have been using as a reference point. I want to throw this at you. In 2016, on a bad Rams team, coached by Jeff Fisher, no offensive line, no weapons. It was terrible. He had 278 carries for 885 yards. That worked out to a 3.2 yards per carry average. The very next year, they bring in Sean McVay. They bring in Robert Woods. They revamp their offensive line. The very next year, he had one more carry. He went from 278 carries to 279 carries. But the yard total went from 885 to 1,305. Why? Because the yards per carry average went from 3.2 to 4.7. season. He also added 64 catches for 788 yards. If we are to believe that the Raiders' offensive line is better, the coaching is obviously, I think, is going to be better. The passing game should be better. A lot of in and around Ashton is going to improve. You don't even have to necessarily give him the ball many more times. I think he had 266 last year, or right around there. But if everything else improves around him, like you said, that home run ability and the efficiency should be better. Could we see a similar type of a jump? And it doesn't have to be, in terms of usage. It's just everything else around him is functioning at a much higher level.
Yeah, that's wild. I think, at least me, I just always remember Todd Gurley's NFL career, and I'm sure other people, you remember those 2 or 3 years where he was just dominant. I think you forget that earlier in his career he had that maybe relatively inefficient season. But, yeah, I totally agree, and I can see that. I think one of the key point here, which you mentioned, is just the offensive line and how good is it going to be, and how different is it going to look with Tyler Linderbaum, with some different pieces, with a different scheme. There's some positions where year in, year out, they're a lot more sticky. You kind of see like a quarterback after they've developed, after about 2 or 3 years, you kind of know what you're going to get. You're not, it happens sometimes, but it's very rare you're going to have a quarterback jump from like mediocre to one of the best in the league over a year. However, offensive line, we just see a huge fluctuation year to year. I mean, even the Raiders during this bad run, it seems like they've had a poor offensive line the last several years. They had 1 year where they were super high, grading out on all the metrics. I just think it's one of these things that's not an exact science. So if you believe in the Raiders' offensive line, I think certainly it should be better than last year. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities that Genty makes that Gurley-like jump.
Staying with the offensive line, who do you think, and what camp battle would you be looking for as a position on the O-line that will be up for a lot of discussion and competition?
Yeah, I'm still looking at that the other guard spot next to Colton Miller. I wasn't out there a ton, not as much as usual during OTAs and minicamp a few times, but with the Golden Knights run, I missed all the part. When I was out there, they were trying out a lot of different guys at that spot. So I think right tackle, the other obvious one, you could say there's going to be some competition there. How much does this new coaching staff like DJ Glaze was the little bit of a sophomore slump, something he could overcome, but left guard's the one to me that I look at and feel like it's like wide open. I feel like there were 3 or 4 guys drilling there with the first team the last time I was out there. So still some spots unsettled. I think there's 2 for sure where we're going to have a really good competition to watch here in the coming weeks.
We're talking to Case Keefer from the Las Vegas Sun. One more on the awards. I'm looking at the Defensive Rookie of the Year, candidates, and while it takes a while to read down the list to come up with some Raider possibilities, I actually think there's a couple of sneaky players to keep an eye on because I think they're going to get an opportunity to play and maybe do some things. One is Traden Stukes, the second-round pick from Arizona, but the other is Jamad McCoy. By all accounts, he's going to be ready to go for training camp, and I think the Raiders are going to get him on the field as quickly as possible. He's that kind of a talent because of his story, because of what happened on draft night, because of the knee injury, all those. It's a first-round pick, a top 10 pick, top 5 pick, falling to the 4th round. I think there's going to be a spotlight on him, and people are going to be paying attention to him. If he's the Tennessee Jamad McCoy, I think he's going to be in for a big rookie season. What do you think about those 2 candidates for Defensive Rookie of the Year and their chances for that?
Yeah, you're selling me a lot on that. I do kind of like it. I will say this award has frustrated me a little bit over the years. I think we need to get on our colleagues to look a little bit closer. It just feels like every year it goes to a guy taken really high in the draft. There can be a guy that was later rounds and makes a big impact, but we always kind of fall back on a guy that went in the top 20 or so. However, last year it was a little bit different. I know Carson Schlesinger ended up winning. I believe he went the top of the 2nd round, and that's the first time in a long time we've had a 2nd-round pick. So maybe things are changing a little bit. And McCoy is a really interesting case in that, just because, he did drop really far, ended up being taken at the start of day 3. But I think a lot of people are familiar with his name and his profile just because of what a big prospect he was, going back to the beginning of the year. I think for defensive backs, fairly or unfairly, like the way you have to win this award is get the interceptions. There's just not enough splash plays I feel like you can make otherwise to really catch people's attention. So I feel like like if McCoy has a solid year and can somehow be healthy and can step in front of a few passes, I think that's his path to victory. But a lot of interesting Raiders rookies that could get in on this. I think I usually more lean towards the edge rushers just to get those sack totals, but the Raiders have another guy there that could get in on it, in Crawford, of course. So definitely some interesting Raiders to watch there. I like that we went with Schlesinger, tongue twister for me, last year. Maybe this starts the run of some guys drafted a little bit deeper to get more Rookie of the Year consideration.
If Max Crosby were to start the year healthy and remain healthy, what are your expectations for him? And is this the largest influx of talent that he's had to work with on this side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Max's career, and just every year you feel like he's a guy that should be in that Defensive Player of the Year conversation. I think as long as he stays healthy, I mean, he's going to have the numbers, and I think he's gotten so much publicity, and rightly so, over the years of how great he plays against the run too, which I think separates him against some of his other contemporaries that will be going for it. I expect certainly another monster year for Max Crosby, just as long as his body cooperates. We see how hard he pushes himself and how he wants to be out there every single play. Talent wise, experience wise, I don't think there's any black marks. It just all comes down to health for me on Max Crosby. I know he'll do everything he can to be out there, but if I'm picking a guy to win DPOY, I want to be really sure he's going to play a full season.
There's one more Raider that we haven't talked about, and that's Brock Bowers, in terms of maybe putting himself into consideration for an Offensive Player of the Year award. And I think in his case, just like what you were saying about Mac's health is going to be the important factor. If he's on the field for 17 games, the numbers are going to be there, and I want to get your thoughts on how the infrastructure, much like we talked about with Ashton Genty, how the infrastructure, the new infrastructure around Brock Bowers might be able to help him, because I truly believe this case. Get him the ball. Get out of his way. He's going to make things happen once the ball is in his hands. Find a way to get him the ball 115 times, and I think the numbers will be there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. I honestly have, it's going to probably sound ridiculous, but I have fewer questions on Bowers' workload than Genty's. I just feel like if he's out there, he is the clear number one target in this offense. He's the vocal point of the passing game, and everything they've done ever since Clint Kubiak and the new crew has taken over just telegraphs that point. So, Bowers is going to put up huge numbers. I do worry about have we ever seen a tight end win this award, or maybe once or twice. I do think even though they don't even use him as a tight end, he's going to be, like we said, the number one receiver for all intents and purposes. I do worry if you slot him next to whoever the big play receiver is, that maybe there's some bias there. But yeah, as long as he's healthy, I just feel like they are going to feed him. I think Clint Kubiak and crew, they're not even hiding the fact that they think that's his ideal role, and I think anyone who's watched him would agree.
Did anyone come up to you after the Conor McGregor fight and ask you, all right, what do I do? I had money on McGregor. This is a travesty of justice. Do you ever come up and just have to say something like, hey, if you're going to go that far and bet on him, you only have yourself to blame if you're disappointed?
Yeah, I've learned to bite my tongue over the years. I don't know, maybe in my younger years I would battle back with people, but you got to know the risks. I'm all about responsible gambling, but I can't stand this culture now where something goes wrong and it's I need my money back, refund. This was rigged or whatever. Right. I mean, it's all part of the game. Sorry, and the guy hasn't fought in 5 years, coming off a terrible injury. You can always bet the other guy, as I did. But that's not even my bigger point. You assume some risk when you partake in these types of activities.
It's called gambling, after all. Exactly. So you are gambling. Well, Case, our money's always on you. So and we feel comfortable with that bet, and we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Can't wait to see you out in Henderson at the Raiders facility to start training camp. Truly appreciate it. Take care, my friend, and we'll see you down the road.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Case.
You got it. That's Case Keefer from the Las Vegas Sun, shedding a lot of light on some odds and some Raider candidacies. And I think for the first time in a while, there's some real candidates for some of these awards if things break right. Whether it's the Offensive Rookie of the Year, whether it's the Defensive Player of the Year with Max Crosby, I think he's going to be. His name is always in that hat. And I do think a Brock Bowers and an Ashton Genty, if things break right, have a chance to enter the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year, and I am definitely keeping an eye on Jamon McCoy for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He just has to get on the field and stay on the field, and I think the talent is going to express itself without a doubt. It's the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m. We want your thoughts. 702-365-9200, Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m.
Vince, Vinny, and Clay want to hear from you. Call or text the show at 702-365-9200. Now, back to the Morning Tailgate.
It goes to Fernando Mendoza.
Thank you, everybody. It's such a blessing to be here. First off, I want to give all the glory to God. Football. Thank you. Football is the ultimate team sport, and although this award has one name on it, it belongs to so many people. I want to give a huge thanks to my family, my coaches, my beloved Hoosier Nation, and most importantly, out of all of them, my beloved teammates. Love you guys. Appreciate everything you guys done for me. I also want to give a big congratulations to all the other nominees and all the amazing athletes being honored here tonight. God bless. Go Raiders. Thank you, guys.
That's Fernando Mendoza last night at the ESPY Awards, where he collected the award for College Athlete of the Year, and well-deserved after leading Indiana to an undefeated season, 16-0. That's hard to do. In case you're wondering about that, it's unprecedented, to be honest with you. And not only led them to Indiana to a national championship, won the Heisman Trophy, and they don't win without him. I'm just going to point blank say that he just made so many big play after big play when Indiana absolutely needed it. It was Fernando that delivered, and so deservedly so, winning that award. But is it the first of a few that he's going to win as he now transitions to the NFL? Could he be in the running this year for Offensive Rookie of the Year award in the NFL? I do believe that if he gets on the field for a significant amount of time, and we're saying to be a realistic candidate, he probably has to start 9 to 10 games or more, obviously, to put himself into that contention. So we will see about that. It's the Morning Tailgate on Raider Nation Radio, 920 a.m. We want your thoughts on predictions for all of these awards, whether it's Fernando Mendoza and his candidacy for Offensive Rookie of the Year, whether it's some of the young Raider defensive players, Jamon McCoy, Traydon Stukes, in terms of the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. What about Ashton Jeanty, a potential Offensive Player of the Year? I've been saying, and as much as I throw things around, saying that Fernando needs to get on the field early in his rookie career, in his rookie season with the Raiders, and play extensively. I think that sets him up and sets the Raiders up for future success. I firmly believe that Ashton Jeanty is an Offensive Player of the Year award candidate throughout his career. I think he's got that kind of a talent, and I don't think it's necessarily on him at this point. I think it's on what's around him at this point: the offensive line, the play calling, the design, all of that type of stuff. So is Ashton Jeanty somebody that you look at? Max Crosby as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and of course Brock Bowers. It's not tight ends usually don't get a whole lot of love in that award, but is Brock Bowers, is he somebody to keep an eye on if he stays healthy and if he's out there for 17 games? I think the numbers are going to be there, and I think you're going to have to talk about them if those numbers are there, which is what I expect. But we want your thoughts. 702-365-9200. If you notice, I didn't mention MVP. It's hard for me to see a real MVP candidate here, because I think Clay, with most valuable player, wins have to be part of it, and I'm not closing the door on anything, any possibility for the Raiders in terms of the win total. But realistically, you have to be one of the better teams in the league, if not the best team in the league, to be in consideration for most valuable player. So I'm going to leave that one, set that one off to the side. Maybe that's a Fernando award later on in his career. But right now, realistically, as opposed to some of these other awards where I think Raider players are absolutely have a chance to inject themselves into the conversation in a very serious way, I'm not quite sure this year, at least at this point, about most valuable player. But that does take us to the most valuable player award. And last year it was Matthew Stafford at his advanced age putting together a spectacular season. It didn't end up in a Super Bowl championship for the Rams or a Super Bowl appearance, but he had a spectacular year, and I think that he's going to be in that conversation again this year. But so are Josh Allen, the quarterback from I'm going to name off a whole bunch of quarterbacks here, so bear with me. Josh Allen, as of right now, is the slight favorite, plus 550. Lamar Jackson plus 650. Joe Burrow plus 800. Justin Herbert plus 1,000. Patrick Mahomes plus 1,100. Drake May plus 1,000. Dak Prescott plus 1,200. Caleb Williams getting some love on Twitter, by the way. Matthew Stafford, Jordan Love, Jaden Denton. They're all quarterbacks, Clay. Run on down the list, but I'm not going to go. I'm not going to make the easy choice with Josh Allen. I'm not feeling it this year, and I'm not quite sure about Lamar Jackson. He's not coming off a very good season, to be honest with you. So he has a lot of ground to make up. Maybe that'll be the key to him being in the MVP consideration. But I am feeling Caleb Williams. It's crazy. I actually saw him last night, so it got me thinking, what is his candidacy for MVP? Clay, I'm going to get your thoughts in just one second, but before we do, we're going to go out to the Raider Nation radio listener line because Charles from Oregon wants to chime in. Charles, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you doing this morning?
What's up, Charles? Good morning.
Doing really good.
Doing well, blessed. So I'm going to start with the Offensive Player of the Year. I'm going to go ahead, maybe a little bit of bias. I was thinking JSN might do it again, but I'm going to go with Ashton Jeanty. I'm going to trust that Kubiak's going to get the offensive line going, and Coach Dennison's going to get it going. And with what he did last year, I just think there's going to be so much focus on the run. And I think the offense is going to get opened up with Bowers and some of the plans that Kubiak has. So I'm going to go with Ashton Jeanty. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, I feel real strongly that Jadarian Price, the running back that the Seahawks took at the end, I really like that guy. I think that offensive line looked outstanding last year, and the new offensive coordinator that they hired when Kubiak left in Seattle, it was a 49ers coach. I think he's going to continue to grow and develop that offense, and I think Sam Darnold's going to play better, and I think Jadarian Price is going to just have an amazing year, honestly. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to say Reuben Bain Jr. because I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, for one, and he was so dominant in college and the whole short arm thing. I think he's going to show teams that they made the mistake of not drafting him. And then, I can't help but agree with you, Vinny, on Defensive Player of the Year. I think Myles Garrett's going to just absolutely just wreck the NFC West. Can you imagine if Aaron Darnold comes back and what that's going to do for Myles Garrett? And with the two new defensive backs that you mentioned, oh my gosh. And you know what, though? I'm still going to say the Seahawks win that division because just because. But those are my picks. The other thing I wanted to say just real quick. So, the whole, if people would listen to me and who I thought the Raiders should have drafted, we would have ended up, if they could have done it, with Michael Penix and then Fuaga maybe on the offensive line. And thank God they don't listen to me. Thank God that, we ended up with Ashton Jeanty, Brock Bowers, and Fernando Mendoza. Because quite frankly, I've said it before, and I know some people were shocked. I see some, Fernando's going to be Fernando, but you can't help but see Tom Brady in him. When I listen to him, the way he learns, I think Marcus Robinson pointed out that when he watched tape on him, and he was like saying he would make a mistake with his footwork, and then the next game it was gone. It's like he learns and processes things so well. So it's hard not to pick him for Offensive Rookie of the Year, but I don't think he's going to get to play a ton.
If he does, if he does, if he does get the playing time.
Yeah, I agree. And then we'll push Jadarian Price to the side and say it's going to be Fernando.
There you go.
But I'm so pleased with him being part of the core and being the leader and the face of the Raiders organization. Couldn't be more excited in every aspect. He's going to be outstanding, I think, and just really excited for the season to come. So just got my tickets for the practice at Allegiant Stadium.
Nice.
Just bought those, so I'm super excited to come see that. And then I'm going to go see the Cardinals Raiders preseason game. So we're coming out. We're going to brave that 110 or whatever it's going to be degree heat, and just really excited. So hey,
you'll be fine.
Have a great day.
You too, and you'll be fine. And here's the thing, Clay. I think that he points to Charles in Oregon, and thanks to Charles in Oregon about kind of the face of the franchise and how appealing that is, and to as a Raider fan to look at Fernando Mendoza. He's also willing in that regard. It was a month ago or so. It was the end of minicamp for the Chargers. Justin Herbert, who I think the world of as a player, right? Truly think the world of as a player. You can't argue with the statistics and what he's done, at least in the regular season. The playoffs are a whole different story. But it was just a weird day talking to him, and it was just like a zero personality day. And I was talking to some of their beat writers, and they're like, yeah, this can happen from time to time. He's just, he goes into that kind of mode, and it felt like a dud. Like, what's the problem here? Why are you being the way you are right now? And I don't take it personal or anything like that. That's how you are. That's how you are. You're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. But when I look at Fernando Mendoza, I don't see many bad days. Even when it gets difficult, which it will, I think he's going to put a great face to it, a positive face to it. He's going to be willing to answer the questions. He's going to elaborate. There aren't going to be the one-word answers. There aren't going to be the grumbled answers. I don't think you're going to get any of that from Fernando Mendoza. One other thing, when comparing him to Tom Brady. Obviously, Tom Brady was the GOAT. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, and I'm not saying that Fernando Mendoza is ever going to, be in that kind of company. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is for some of the traits that he has. But regardless of where he gets in terms of the ultimate ceiling, I also believe coming into the league, his floor is higher at this point than what Tom's floor was coming out of Michigan.
Yes.
I just believe that. I mean, he threw 400. I think it was 400 more passes in his college career than Tom did at Michigan. And look, things evolve. Clay, coaching gets better. The game has advanced. The development of players has advanced. I'm not saying that he has mastered the NFL quarterback position at all, because he hasn't. We won't know that until he actually gets out and does that. But the preparation and being prepared for now making that transition, I think quarterbacks now, players now, are much further along than some of their contemporaries were years ago. He's just a further along prospect at this point in his career than Tom Brady was coming out of college. I don't remember the exact offense that he ran. I think it was probably a little bit of a West Coast offense under Lloyd Carr at Michigan. That was good for him coming into the NFL playing in that type of an offense. I just think again, the floor is a little bit higher than Tom Brady was back in 2000 or wherever it was, and I think that because of that, whatever his ceiling is, I believe he'll get to that ceiling. Whether it's a Tom Brady ceiling, that remains to be seen. But I think he's starting off in a much further along place than Tom Brady was when he came out of college. So what worked for Tom may not be needed for Fernando as a rookie to have to sit and watch for a full year.
One thing that Fernando has that Tom Brady didn't have a Tom Brady watching over him and making sure that the development was right and the right time to come in. Fernando has Tom Brady in his corner to go and do that and to reach new heights. So yes, the floor is higher and the ceiling could be just as big as well. Hey, let's sneak in a call before we take a break and get to the giveaway. 702-365-9200. Raider Dave in Denver, thanks for waiting.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. I would love to see Genty get Offensive Player of the Year, and I have a stipulation of that I want you guys to answer. The question is, like, whatever the offensive line for the Raiders was classified as last year, 27th in the league or whatever.
32nd.
How much better would it have to be? 32nd, you said? How much better would it have to be? Would they have to get to 20? Would they have to get to 16 in order for Genty to have that kind of production? Now, obviously, if the defense isn't great, you don't get the more opportunities to be on offense. So that plays into it as well. So that would be the one question, would be, where would that offensive line have to rank at minimum for Genty to be able to do that as Offensive Player of the Year? And the other question would be, if Max is the sack leader, I don't care if it's 14, 16, 18, 20, if he's the sack leader, how many wins would the Raiders have to have for him to get Defensive Player of the Year? Appreciate the time.
Ooh, good stuff, Dave. You know what? Miles has won it without having the blessings of wins, so it may not come into an account.
But he also set a record for sacks, so it was just a dominant force. So that was one of those where that pulled it in that direction. I think, Clay, some of it's going to have to do with what other players do, right? Like I mean, I sit here and say that Myles Garrett's going to have a chance to rush the passer even at a higher level, or more chances, just because the Rams are going to be winning games as opposed to what the Cleveland Browns were last year. But if he doesn't have that kind of a year, then some of it's going to be predicated on, you know, what other players around him are doing. So for Max Crosby, I mean, if he could get to 16, 17 sacks this year, that would definitely put him in to consideration, based on, as long as Myles Garrett doesn't have 22 sacks or something like that this year.
Let's get more of your thoughts next on the text line and on the phones at 702-365-9200, because coming up next is the final sit down, but not before we give away some great prizes here on the Morning Tailgate.
Yeah, I got some more goodies to give away here, Clay. Appreciate it. We got a 4-pack of tickets to see the Las Vegas Aviators taking on the El Paso Chihuahuas. This is going to be going down on July 25th. So not this Saturday, but next Saturday. If you want to get the family out, maybe you got some friends in town, maybe you just want to go out and enjoy it, we got a 4-pack of tickets for the Las Vegas Aviators taking on the El Paso Chihuahuas. Give me a call right now. Caller number 9 at 702-365-9200. Again, that's caller number 9 at 702-365-9200 for your chance at a 4-pack of tickets to see the Aviators.
This is the Morning Tailgate.
Oh, Paisan. Oh! Back up. I'll talk to him about it. I've been telling you for months now this guy's no good. I want to sit down. All right. Answer the phone. I want to sit down.
Hey! On Raider Nation Radio 920.
Oh!
Back here on the Morning Tailgate. Thanks for being with us here. The final sit down. Vinny Bonsignor, Clay Baker, Connor Collins here with you. Just to answer the question from Raider Dave in Denver, when he was thinking and heralding Ashton Genty for what he could be, and what could it be like for perhaps an Offensive Player of the Year award for Genty, and where would that offensive line ranking be for somebody that can be in that realm? Let's take a look at past winners at running back of the offensive line MVP, or offensive player of the year rather. Saquon Barkley in 2024, Philadelphia Eagles, great offensive line. Christian McCaffrey, 2023 running back, great offensive line with the 49ers. Now in 2020, Derrick Henry with the Titans won offensive player of the year as a running back. And you know, it was really the defense that was great there, because the offense, other than Derrick Henry, all right, well, you know, there were some bright, shining moments from A.J. Brown, but it wasn't like Dennis Kelly, Nate Davis, Ben Jones, and you know, they made up a line that had Taylor Lewan, which was very good, a first-round pick. Roger Saffold. So it wasn't like they had a Pro Bowl up and down 5 guys, a great offensive line. So Derrick Henry did that, and what a superlative year it was. Would it take that kind of year for Ashton Genty to just go and blow the doors off the way Derrick Henry did that year, Vinny? I mean, it's one in which it takes a lot to go and make all that happen.
Yeah, but I think that the starting point for the Raiders are two Pro Bowl caliber players in Colton Miller and the center Tyler Lindenbaum, and I think that you have a Pro Bowl level coach, in Rick Dennison. So I think that he's going to figure it out on those other positions. I know the Raiders are really high on DJ Glaze as well, and some of the younger players that they've drafted. So I do see that they're going to make a jump. I don't see any way that they're the 32nd ranked offensive line again. I just do not see that. And I think that there's more of a likelihood that they could be in the teens, 18, 19. And I think if they do get to that point, then I think that Ashton Genty's numbers are going to go up. Again, the carries don't have to increase by even one necessarily. It's the efficiency. It's the yards per carry getting into that 4.7, and then all of a sudden you're looking at a guy that's going to run for 1,300 yards. This isn't, to me, has nothing to do necessarily with Ashton. As you said, it's that offensive line. How much better can it actually be? And I think that there's reason to believe, and there's real reason for optimism that it is going to be much better. And I think that plus the intentionality of Clint Kubiak in this offense to be a run-based offensive attack. And I also think that they understand, and I saw enough of this in minicamp, they're going to get him the ball as a pass catcher too. So he's going to be an ultimate weapon type of a player, which I think also bodes well for your candidacy to be an offensive player of the year. Now, I don't know that he's going to win it, but even if he can get into consideration, that's going to be a game changer for the Raiders, because I think that if he's in consideration, then and Brock Bowers is playing 17 games, I'm going to tell you that his production is going to be there as well. And if both of those guys can play to their capabilities, and again, I'm going to reiterate this, them playing to their capabilities is largely predicated on everyone else doing their job at a higher level, then I think the Raiders are going to win some games and be competitive and be a fun team to watch and be a fun offense to watch, and that can only strengthen both of their candidacies, and especially Ashton's.
Could the offensive line at least make the jump the way the Rams did in 2016 to 2017? Because Todd Gurley won Offensive Player of the Year award in 2017, going from 4-12 to where they did that year.
Yeah, I see so many similarities in everything that the Raiders have done to everything that the Raiders did that particular year to improve the infrastructure around. I mean, Todd that year called it a junior high school offense, and it really was. They had Rob Boris was their offensive coordinator. All he had done prior to that was be a tight end coach. He had never called plays or designed plays. They didn't have much talent on the offensive line. They go out and get Andrew Whitworth at left tackle. They bring in John Sullivan at center. Roger Saffold got to settle in at guard. And the offensive line made massive improvements, and they also stayed healthy. I don't think that offensive line missed a game all year, maybe one or maybe some snaps. So yeah, exactly. So yes, I do believe, based on what the Raiders brought in and who they're getting back in Colton Miller and the coaching staff, puts them in line to be much improved. And so there you go. I appreciate everybody. Case Keaton or Case Keefer. Obviously Jason Horowitz as well. Clay, thank you. Connor, thank you. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our callers. We're back at it tomorrow, 7 to 10 a.m. on the Morning Tailgate Show on Raider Nation 8 Radio 920 a.m.